So when the Cannondale SuperSix Evo first arrived in the Cycling Weekly office, my excitement could only be described of as palpable. It is one of the gold standard race bikes, so it was definitely something that I was keen to have a go on. However, I'd had a very long time to really build up in my mind what I expected from Cannondale's GC race bike, and what I was expecting was a smashy, thrashy, fast accelerating bike. What I actually found was sublime comfort and excellent handling. This is a race bike through and through. Expect it to be fast, expect it to be a fun ride, but also expect to find a good amount of comfort and also just to really enjoy that stability as you lean it through the corners. So with the last iteration of the Cannondale SuperSix Evo, the brand made some really big changes. It moved away from the traditional round tubes, high seat stays that we'd always associated with the Cannondale SuperSix Evo, and it got much more clinical aerodynamic shapes. Every brand that has sent bikes through the wind tunnel, they've come out with this fairly similar shape, and the reason is because it just is faster, and certainly on like flat roads, this bike just bombs along. It really maintains its speed, really holds it, and it's just exceptionally enjoyable to ride. And one thing worth bearing in mind is we did actually include a Cannondale SuperSix Evo in last year's Editor's Choice Awards. In that case, we had tested the high mod version, and that's the model that we included. Now that model has slightly lighter weight carbon. It is that little bit stiffer, a little bit more responsive. However, this model comes in a lot cheaper at £3,500, but it does have just a little bit more compliance. So it's definitely not, you don't want to write off that cheaper and very slightly kind of lower end carbon, because it does also have its benefits as well, which is certainly what I found here. What you do still get is the offset BB, which is very much a hallmark of the SuperSix Evo, just provides that little bit more stiffness and acceleration when you get out of the saddle. And then that's well balanced with the hologram SL seat post, which is D-shaped and just helps to ease off some of those vibrations, so you don't feel quite so much coming through the frame on some of those kind of bumpier roads.
So moving on to the front end, Michelle, tell me a little bit about this, because there's quite a lot going on this bike.
There is, and to a degree there also isn't, in that what's really nice is that although it is all very proprietary, you can also use a standard normal stem and a handlebar if you wanted to, which I think is a really good thing of Cannondale to do. Now this is an Ultegra mechanical version, so obviously you can see that the cables come out of the handlebar and they go into the down tube. Of course, in this version they are easy to access for maintenance, which is always useful. Of course, the primary reason for making the handlebar in this shape is it is much more aerodynamic, so you've got that kind of flat top, which, again, is really nice to rest your hands on when you're climbing as well. Without a doubt, it looks like it slices through the air as you'd expect.
It's quite a neat piece of kit, actually. It has a degree of sort of tilt adjust in it as well, because I remember when they launched it on the SystemSix, and it's a fake one piece. So it looks like a one piece, it's got the aesthetic of a one piece, but it's actually a two piece, which makes it much easier to live with.
So in terms of geometry, the Cannondale SuperSix Evo now is just that little bit more relaxed than previous iterations. So Cannondale's very slightly shortened the reach, they brought the stack up just a little bit, which actually makes this bike a really accessible model. I mean, as you can see, I've got two spaces there. You could drop those and slam it, and it would still be a really aggressive ride, but it does mean that it's very accessible. An awful lot of people would get on well with this bike. I never felt like I was kind of really low in that setup as it is. And then also in terms of the handling geometry, Cannondale has made the front end just that little bit slacker as well. It's slacker than the majority of race bikes, comes in about 71.2 degrees, which, a lot of them come in generally 72, so it doesn't sound like a huge difference, but it does make a difference. You do get a really good degree of stability, as well as also it has quite a long wheelbase comparative to the majority of kind of GC race bikes that you would find on the market, which just makes it feel very much like a very flowy, very stable, very comfortable bike to ride.
So we've spoken quite a lot about the front end already, but the rest of the finishing kit is quite Cannondale heavy, particularly these wheels. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yep, so Cannondale has its own brand hologram, so you are very much expecting to see hologram kit finishing off most Cannondale bikes. In this case, you have the hologram 35mm carbon rims. They felt like a good match with this bike, for sure. The hologram wheels have been spec'd with Vittoria's Rubino Pro tyres. These are in a 25C, although of course there is space for up to 30mm, which is something we're seeing across the majority of disc brake race bikes at the moment. I was actually really impressed by these tyres. I've used some of Vittoria's other kind of more wintry tyres in the past, and I wasn't expecting these to feel quite so rapid, quite so comfortable, and quite so compliant as they did. I mean, they are very much sitting on a very comfortable, compliant bike, and the two things are obviously working together.
So we've spoken at length about the details and the spec. How does this bike ride?
So the ride is really the primary reason that we put this bike into Editor's Choice. It is insanely comfortable for a race bike, and that's really the kind of shining feature of this bike. So when I was testing it, I was actually had a bit of a back pain going on, which, you know, someone that you're swapping bikes all the time, something that just happens. And I took it on a 140-kilometre club run with kind of rutted, rubbish roads, start of winter, you're kind of not feeling maybe at your most sprightly, but just that real comfort kind of carried me through, and I felt, you know, towards the end of that ride, I felt really fresh and really kind of, you know, I could have carried on for longer. I just felt that the bike really carried me at a time when perhaps I wasn't really feeling my absolute best. If you are a rider that enjoys that kind of fast, fun, aggressive ride, but you don't want to funnel yourself into that traditional geometry, then this is definitely a really, really good choice. So if you want to ride fast, but perhaps spine health is just that little bit on your radar, it's absolutely something to consider. And the comfort that you get from that geometry and also just from the compliance of this frame is absolutely of note, and it's something that we really enjoyed. For a real all-rounder, it climbs exceptionally well, and definitely on the flat, you get a really nice grin-inducing injection of speed. And the kind of combination of those features is why we've chosen it as an Editor's Choice Award bike for 2020.
So this has been Michelle's review of the Cannondale SuperSix for our Editor's Choice list this year. If you want to see the full rundown of bikes, product, equipment, clothing, then do head over to cyclingweekly.com, where you can find it all listed and all of our reviews. If you check out the YouTube channel, you'll find a smattering of other bikes also under our Editor's Choice franchise. Do check those out, and if you have liked this video, give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comments section below if you have any questions about this bike, and check the channel out soon for some more great content. We'll see you then.